privileged to introduce Scott Rogolski, Associate Director, Strategic Initiatives of NorCal SBDC, who is going to share with you the vision and charter of SBDC. He is connected all across California. So he will give you, a timeline. He will give you a vision and roadmap where you can get free help and aid, which can not only make your dream successful, but it can also, grow the local economy. So it's my pleasure to introduce and hand over the floor to Scott.
I don't think Scott is on.
No, okay. He is not. He is not at this point in time. So we go to Edgar.
And Edgar.
Okay, well, I guess I'll take over. Me and Scott work very closely together. So a bit about NorCal SBDC. So SBDC is a federal network across every single county in the U.S. that helps entrepreneurs for free. What they do is they focus on helping companies sort of raise money to bring their innovations or the businesses sort of to fruition with the goal of bringing, funding to the local economy and creating jobs, right? So I'll go into my portion, actually, how we work together. So my name is Edgar. I am the Associate Director at Tech Futures Group, which is a special program of the NorCal SBDC. And what we do is our focus is helping technology companies, startups, bring their innovations to market and raise money through private equity or government research grants, all at no cost. It's 100% free service. We take no equity or we take cash for our services we provide. The way it works is we pair companies with experienced entrepreneurs to help them sort of through any pitfalls that any startup may face. And we bring specialty advisors to help if needed. And these specialty advisors focus on things like IP, financial modeling, if companies are raising money, government research grants, and manufacturing. So the way it works is companies apply, and then, like I mentioned, we pair them with entrepreneur in residence, and sort of they're off to the races. And like I mentioned, the main focus of helping companies raise money through private equity or government grants so that they create jobs and help the local economy. So if you guys sort of have any more questions, I'm going to put my contact information in the chat. And if you, would like to sort of participate in our program, I will also be linking to our application. Thank you very much.
Great. Edgar, thanks for stepping in. You are supposed to speak, I think, in the next event, but hey, this at least in the least is great practice. So once again, it has been a pleasure working with you over the years. So, and we've really seen how you made the impossible happen. And together, Pitch Global, we are a satellite of Tech Futures Group, NorCal SBDC, and U.S. government is helping generate total value to the economy from $500 million to $1 billion this year, and we are at the forefront of it. Our company, Pitch Global, is been mentoring entrepreneurs and hosting investor events almost 10 years, including our predecessor companies. And we really are passionate about making founders successful. Today, we have a wildcard entry, which is a State of the Union about what happened during our first event. This is the third event we are hosting with Tech Futures Group. In our first event, we had 3 companies. One is Cargo Chief, one is Levensight, and the third is Telemetry. Now, Cargo Chief and Levensight has both raised almost $3 million each and closed the funding rounds with our help. And today we have the founder of the third company, Telemetry, who is almost close to finishing his round. He also presented to our keynote, Jim Simmons, who's also a board member. He is co-chair of Caltech Angels in that event. Edgar, remember 4 months ago, Jim talked about his experience when he worked with Bill Draper and they were investing in Skype and kind of innovation they created. And after the event, Eric, Telemetric went on to raise almost 300K from Caltech Angels. We are very proud of that. That's a direct causality, cost, and benefit of hosting this event. And now it's my privilege to hand over the floor to my dear friend, Eric Eklund of Telemetric. He also will talk about grants, which he has got successfully through mentorship from Pitch Global and Tech Futures Group. So Eric, floor is yours, brother.
Okay, thank you, Casey. I'll try to limit this to 4 or 5 minutes, but basically, Casey asked me a few weeks ago at a party, always a good place to speak with Casey, what his group Pitch Global has done for my company, Telemetric. And to formalize my thinking a little bit, I think of it in, they've done 3 big things for us. 1, they've helped us raise angel funding. 2, we landed a government contract, $50,000, in large part thanks to the help that Tech Futures Group gave us. And then at the moment, we'd love to speak with more corporate venture capital funds, and Pitch Global has been very helpful in introducing us to several of those. So as Casey mentioned, with respect to my first bullet point, angel funding, I presented several times to Pitch Global. And then I've also presented, I think at the moment, 13 Bay Area angel groups. Of all those 13 angel groups, 12 have been a complete waste of time. I have some real horror stories, which I won't share online because I'm being recorded and I could be sued. But if anybody's really interested, just contact me. I can tell you about some of them. However, as Casey mentioned, one of his judges is often a fellow named Jim Simmons, who's the co-chairman of Caltech Angels Network. And together they put $280,000 into my company, Telemetric, which is over half of the money we've raised so far. It's 55%. We also found an excellent advisor, who's Russ Jones, who the fellow that Cargo Chief, the CEO of Cargo Chief, Casey just mentioned him as well. So that's my first bullet point. This group, Pitch Global, actually does help raising investment capital, and I found it much more productive than the hodgepodge of angel groups in the Bay Area. Most of them seem to have a representative that shows up at Pitch Global every once in a while anyway. But Pitch Global has been very effective. Now, bullet point number 2, government funding. In our case, it was not a grant. It's a contract to do a feasibility study for the Defense Department, $50,000. That's worked out very well. It's a so-called phase 1 SBIR, SBIR, Small Business Investment Research. It's not a grant. They've made it very clear it's a contracting effort. They want a report out of that, which is nice because it means the cost of goods sold of my writing a report is 0. So it's very high margin stuff. Anyway, that's worked out well. And this can lead on to much larger government contracts. As you may know, the U.S. government, the federal government, is the largest customer in the entire world. The Defense Department alone has a budget of $780 billion, and they have a need for my company's technology and solutions. So back up a little bit, Telemetric, we have a kinetic energy powered tracking device that works on things that don't have electric power, notably containers, intermodal containers, the big steel boxes that carry $8 trillion worth of cargo every year and are really critical to the global economy. Now, the Defense Department owns 288,086 containers, almost 1% of the world's fleet. And they have a real problem keeping track of those containers and keeping track of what's inside them. We can automate all of that without the need for batteries. So they're quite interested in what we're doing. And the Defense Department, for example, the whole federal government is under pressure to do more work with small businesses for political reasons, I believe. A bunch of congressmen have small businesses in their district, and they want more taxpayers' money spent with small businesses as opposed to the huge government contractors. Lockheed Martin, for example, is one of the biggest defense contractors. They build F-35 aircraft, incredible planes. My company cannot build an F-35. However, we can innovate much faster than Lockheed Martin. It took Lockheed Martin, I think, 20 years to get the F-35 off the ground. It's a very complex product, of course. It takes years to develop and build. One of the things small companies can do better than very large companies like Lockheed Martin is just innovate faster. We measure our innovation cycle in a matter of weeks or sometimes weekends, sometimes all-nighters. Things just happen very quickly, whereas the big defense contractors, the companies that the federal government still spends 85% of its money with, they're just much slower moving. And the Defense Department has realized they want to maintain their technology edge over the Chinese military in particular, which means they have to figure out ways to innovate faster. So anyway, Tech Futures Group Chuck Eason is the guy in particular. He just understands how the government works, and it's not easy. They don't make it easy to work with the federal government. It's unbelievably complex. So it really helps to have a friend on your side who can talk you through the process and explain how you should present things and what the priorities really are and what they are. And there are a lot of, it's a little bit like wandering through a minefield in the middle of the night. You could step on a landmine at any time and you're completely out of the running. So it's very helpful if you have somebody who can give you some advice on that. And Tech Futures Group, they do it for free.
Eric, sorry, that was a great teaching point on innovation. We really loved it. And because of paucity of time, we have one more question for you. You mentioned you met a lot of CVCs through us. Can you pick one, give an example of a CVC you met and then you've got several further dialogues and whether funding or not?
Yeah, I just saw one on screen, actually. Andrew Mahwah from TDK Ventures. That's very interesting. My company, for example, we'd like to put a tracking device inside every one of the 30 million intermodal containers in the world, these big steel boxes with a lot of cargo in it. Every single one of our trackers has at least one TDK motion sensor, or IMU. The best one out there is TDK's. So we're already a customer of TDK, and I happened to, Andrew, who's one of the co-founders, I think, of TDK Ventures, mentored me after one of my Pitch Global presentations, and then I was able to point out that, yeah, we use your accelerometer, and we think it's just great. So this has just been perfect. CVCs, as you may know, they sort of have, as I understand it, they sort of have two goals. One is to make a big return for their limited partner, which is the parent company, TDK, a huge Japanese electronics company in this case. That's one goal, make money directly as a return on the investment, whatever they put into the companies they're investing in. They also have a second goal, which is to do something good for the parent company, drive new sales, get good PR. I don't understand the second goal as well. It's a little bit harder to manage. But in TDK's case, with respect to Telemetrack, I'd like to think we could help them with both of those. So this is the perfect guy for me as CEO of Telemetrack to be speaking with Andrew Mahwah, and I hope he'll get a chance to speak later. But that's a perfect example there, actually.
That's great, Eric. Thanks very much. By the way, Eric attended HBS and worked for Bain and Company, so he spoke. If he was working through Bain, everyone would have had to pay much more to hear the advice. So we really appreciate your insights. And the goal of today's program is to create dissipate misnomers. We want people to really shine the light on an area where the market is moving to, which is CVC, and you sharing how you are engaging in a dialogue really can make a difference to the audience. So thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
So today, I want to briefly explain the agenda. So first, we are going to have a presentation from Investment Director of TDK Ventures. Second, after that, I will interview 3 founders who are part of Tech Futures Group program. And I hope in 4 months, all 3 comes back and says they have raised millions, as the first set did. And after that, I'm going to hand over the floor over to our fellow EIR from Pitch Global, Axel Tillmann, who you've already met, who's a former retired US CEO of Fund of Funds working in Sandhill Road. And he's going to briefly talk about how he led Pitch Global's efforts in corporate innovation spin-off of RICO, Japanese global multinational, into spinning off into independent company Aiga Health, after which he's going to curate the 3 presentations and the Q&A. The 3 presentations would be of 15-minute each plus Q&A. So now let's get to the main part of the program. Today we have a formidable team from TDK Ventures. We have someone who represents the PR side. We have Rafael Fireni. Rafael, if you're there, you can, give us a shout. He's a PR guru who has taken companies like Excite at Home public as PR chief back in the days. And we also have investment director of TDK Ventures, Andrew Mahwah, someone who's, what can I say? He attended MIT and Wharton and was a VC in China for a long time before he came back and joined TDK Ventures and helped start it. And was struck with his brilliance and his insights and his care and about the startup ecosystem. And when he said he's interested in starting CVC Thought Leadership Program, we jumped at it. So it's my privilege and honor to host Andrew Mahwah. Andrew, floor is yours, brother.
Great. Thank you, Casey. So let's see. Can you all see my screen?
Absolutely.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining today. Today, I will be presenting on how entrepreneurs can attract CVCs at any stage of their development. First, I'd like to thank Casey and Axel from Pitch Global. They've been very instrumental in helping with this presentation and just getting everything ready for today. Also like to thank Tech Futures Group and NorCal SBDC. Just really thankful that they're able to co-host and participate in this event. I will leave some time at the end of the presentation for questions, so please reserve your questions for that time. Okay, and the agenda is very simple. First, I'll talk a little bit about TDK Ventures to familiarize yourselves with our fund. Second, then I'll just go into the material, the core of the material, how startups can attract CVCs, and then finally conclude with a Q&A session. So a little bit about TDK Ventures. We are a corporate venture capital fund. We're located in San Jose, California and Boston, Massachusetts. Launched not too long ago, July of 2019. We have $200 million assets under management. And we focus on early stage investments, so seed, Series A, Series B. And we invest in innovative companies that leverage some kind of innovation in fundamental material science. And we can invest anywhere around the world. So that gives us a huge capability to seek out the best companies wherever they might be. About our core values, really it's around 4 different areas. One is contributing to society. Everything that we do, we have to show that, we're contributing positively to society. Also, we're one team reaching for the sky. Everybody works together to do our best. We deliver deep insights. Our work is really centered around deep insights that we develop in the marketplace and apply to our investing and strategic work. And entrepreneurs first. Entrepreneurs are our customers. They're the heroes. We work to support them, to enable their vision, to make them successful. So we bring our passion, conviction, and courage to serve them in any way we can. About TDK Corporation, TDK is a very large multinational electronics company headquartered in Japan. TDK has been growing over the years, did about, maybe somewhere around $13 billion in revenue last year across a number of different business groups. Some of the more well-known groups in batteries. We have the largest consumer electronics lithium-ion battery maker in the world, and also sensors and actuators. We have a number of different subsidiaries that are active in sensors and actuators, IMU, temperature, humidity, accelerometer, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I want to call your attention to the quote from our CEO, Ishiguro-san. TDK is a company that exists for the purpose of contributing to society. And it's really all about how we can leverage the company's resources and capabilities to make meaningful contributions to society. And we leverage the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals as a kind of lens to see, are we really making contributions? Our investment themes span 7 different areas. They're here on the screen, so I'm not going to read them to you, but each one, we see an opportunity where TDK can make meaningful contributions and actually result in tremendous growth for the marketplace, but also benefits for society. And so we're very excited about that, and we're excited to partner with startups that share this vision. Really, TDK Ventures is about much more than capital. We're helping startups achieve their vision, and we aim to add value beyond capital anywhere where we can. Here's a look at the founding team, small but dedicated. We're all focused on adding value, and we also have the expertise of Mr. Paul Holland, a longtime general partner from Foundation Capital, a top-tier financial VC. He's sort of our golf teacher, helps us with best practices so that we can be successful. And here's a look at our portfolio companies. I'm not going to read them out, but we have a number across a number of different areas. So robotics, energy, eVTOL, micromobility, et cetera. And we're very proud of our portfolio companies because we believe in them, and we do everything that we can to support them. And now into the main part of the presentation, attracting CVCs. And through this presentation, I'll be going to different examples, and please remember to save your questions to the end. CVCs are active participants in a lot of the deal flow that we're seeing today. This data suggests, around 2018, it was about 23% of deal flow. I think today, 2021, it's certainly higher. And we see that global CVC investment activity is increasing. Over the years, perhaps 2019, we're seeing $57 billion of capital injections across 3,000 plus deals. But today, I certainly believe it's more. And I believe that trend will continue as we see more and more CVCs becoming more active in the marketplace, active in investment opportunities. And you can see here, there are so many CVCs, and this is just a small fraction of the CVCs out there. And some of these I've had the pleasure of working with. We've co-invested on a number of deals, and really my feeling is that CVCs are a very exciting part of the investment community in the Valley and across the world. And I think CVCs bring something very special to the table. And today I'm going to present part of that and really give you a sense for how startups can attract these CVCs to work together with them. Really, some people, when they think about CVCs, they think small funds, not doing much. But the reality is some of the most prominent VCs in the business are CVCs. For example, SoftBank Vision Fund is a CVC. And they are, I would say, well-known. They're global investors. You can see on the right, they've made bets across a wide variety of spaces. So they're no slouch when it comes to investing. They've got teams located globally in many major cities across the world, and they're very active investors. In fact, a number of people I've talked to look at their investments as a kind of bellwether, as an indication of what may be to come. We certainly believe that their chairman and CEO, Masa-san, is a visionary, and in many cases, he's made some incredibly astute and very visionary bets. And so I want to dispel the myth that CVCs are small and not well-known investors. This is certainly one example of a very well-known investor that is no slouch when it comes to investment. So what is a CVC? Really, a CVC can be any kind of investment vehicle that's established to achieve some kind of corporate goal, some kind of corporate aim through investment in startup companies. And these objectives usually encompass two different things, and this is broad strokes. So first, financial aims, financial goals and objectives, and then strategic aims and objectives. But the reality is there are many CVCs that actually can play in one of these spaces or the other. For example, there's some CVCs that only have financial aims. They don't really have any strategic aims. And at the same time, there are many CVCs that only have or primarily have strategic aims. The financial goals are much less of a concern for them. But the reality is that the vast majority of CVCs have both financial aims and strategic aims to some varying degree. Really, it's about understanding what those aims are and understanding how they achieve those goals, those objectives, that really helps both startups and large companies alike understand how to better work with these CVCs. But really, the CVC model is about making small bets. It's about making small minority investments instead of buying out a company. There have been people in the past who've suggested that really for a corporate, you should just be buying out companies. Well, right now, today, we're seeing a lot of corporates that prefer to invest in smaller amounts and try to get started on some strategic aims before looking at things like M&A transactions. And really, some people say that corporate VCs, they invest in high growth projects just like traditional financial VCs. However, in some cases, they can be more long-term focused than a traditional VC because traditional VCs have some kind of fund life that typically is 10 years. Whereas a corporate, in many scenarios, is going to last more than 10 years. So, we can already see that there's some areas where corporate VCs have a little bit of an advantage or edge over financial VCs. And there are many different reasons why corporates establish CVCs. It's not just one reason out there. There are many reasons, and it all comes down to what that corporate believes. For example, it could be about gaining market insights. So by working with various startup companies, these corporates can actually get an up-close look at how an emerging market is developing and really understand in depth what is happening in that market. It could be about access to new research and business models. And this could also tie into the corporate's R&D activities. It could be about providing new customers, a new channel of customers for the corporate investor. And it may not be just that portfolio company. It could be many other companies in that space that can realize that corporate could potentially be a customer. It could be about identifying new talent for future projects. I mean, as various markets mature, we see new and different types of entrepreneurs and teams bringing in all kinds of different talent that corporates may see as, hey, maybe there are some synergies here and there's some ways to work with these talented individuals from the corporate standpoint. And also it could be about building a relationship with potential acquisition targets. Some corporations like to invest a small amount first before acquiring a target. But I want to stress that's not the case for every corporate. So not every corporate out there invests because they're looking to acquire. So it's careful, or I should caution one to be careful to not make that distinction in every case. And, so many people, and I've talked to a number of entrepreneurs who maybe in some cases see CVCs as maybe, hey, we want to go for the financial VCs first. And I don't recommend that. I actually recommend a healthy balance of investment from both CVCs and financial VCs because they bring different things to the table to offer to your startup. The CVC can bring business opportunities, whereas the financial VC in almost all cases can't. But at the same time, the financial VC brings large amounts of capital that in many cases that can help the startup grow over its entire life cycle. So I suggest not viewing CVCs as an investor of last resort, but seeing CVCs as almost in some sense an equal partner to seek out partnerships with at the same time as seeking relationships with financial VCs. Many startups view CVCs as a launching pad for their business. Here's a quote from Tsuchikawa-san from Sony, CEO of Sony Innovation Fund. He sees the potential for his fund to benefit startups and helping them with their international expansion. And with a fund like Sony Innovation Fund with global offices and a global footprint, that's actually very powerful. And not even to mention the fact that they're experts in many different product categories, design, engineering, science. A fund like Sony Innovation Fund can add a lot of value to many different startups, whether they be in Japan or overseas. And we can see that international expansion is an important part of many startups' strategic goals. So really, across the board, there's so many different benefits that startups can receive from CVCs. I'm not going to read each of these, but just want to let you know that there is a large potential, and really it's around spending the time to really think about these and understand what is most applicable to your particular startup if you're an entrepreneur. I want to highlight two, in particular, sales and distribution channels. That tends to be what a lot of people quickly think about because you have that bigger brother, so to speak, in the corporate that you're working with that can help you identify and get access to these sales and distribution channels, whereas as a smaller, probably less well-known company, it might be more challenging. And also, I'd like to also highlight market access in terms of in some cases, for example, automotive markets, it may be hard to access different areas of the businesses, but with the right corporate partner, you could be able to do that more easily. First step for entrepreneurs who want to partner and work with CVCs is to really research them. And it's a lot. I'm not going to read each of these off, but it's really about doing your due diligence. I would not recommend just quickly partnering with any CVC that you find. I would recommend taking your time to investigate the various CVCs out there and finding which one is the best fit. And that can take some time, but if you're able to do that, if you're able to spend the time and talk to people and really unearth insights into what that corporate is working on and see how that meshes with what your startup is working on, you can have very large long-term benefits. Really, I think it's about building that relationship. And actually that will apply to any kind of investor. I would strongly recommend taking your time to build that relationship, understand the value you bring to the relationship, but also understand the value they bring to the relationship. And ideally seeing it as a partnership for mutual benefit in the long run. And then the next step after you've done your research is to really brainstorm all the potential synergies. And as you know, startups come in at different stages, and the chart here shows them the seed stage, the early stage, the growth stage, and the maturity stage. And at each of these stages, you have different things that you can offer. You have different capabilities and different areas that are more priorities. And so really understanding that and really thinking about, okay, what's my priority and what do I bring to the table helps you then see what are the strategic areas where you can partner with these CVCs to really create a lot of mutual value. For example, at the seed stage, you may not have a product that's ready, but you may have several ideas and insights into a market. And so that could lend benefits around sharing your understanding under some kind of licensing agreement, or establishing some kind of joint development so that you can leverage your knowledge, IP, whatever have you, to create joint projects. At the early stage, this is probably one of the great stages for testing or pilots. And why is that important? It's important because for you as the entrepreneur, with your product that's getting ready or ready, you want to sort of prove it out. And what I would say probably one of the best ways to prove it out is to work with a close partner that can show you all the things that went well and all the things that didn't go well, so that you can then take that feedback and incorporate it back into the product. This is very powerful and allows you to get faster to product market fit, where you can then take off and sell to more customers later on. At the growth stage, you probably have product market fit, but you're probably looking to scale. And scaling out oftentimes involves being able to reach wide swaths of customers probably in a given geography and in a given space. And for that, corporates are great in terms of helping scale out, maybe helping with manufacturing, supply chain, distribution. We had one case where a portfolio company came to TDK Ventures and asked for help in terms of scaling out and manufacturing, and certainly we're able to help there. And so this is one area for the growth stage that CVCs can add value. And at the maturity stage, you're looking, you're probably pre-IPO or in these days SPAC. In this case, you probably have solid products, you have product market fit, you're already scaling, but this is where corporates can help scale to additional markets. So if it's another vertical or perhaps another geography, this is where corporates can step in and really lend a helping hand to reach those markets that for you, even at maturity stage, may be difficult to reach. So again, it's all about brainstorming what are those capabilities and then matching that with the research you did in the previous stage on the CVCs to see who is the best fit. Then it's all about crafting that story. It's about really putting together that pitch or really the heart of the story that you're going to share with that CVC investor to really help them see your vision, help them see the value that you add, help them see how they can participate as well. My tips are really make it simple, make it impactful, focus on your research that you've done, focus on the brainstorming that you've done, and really get to the heart of, hey, why does this make sense? Why is this so powerful? And as you talk to more and more investors, take their feedback, go back to the drawing board and incorporate that. So then as you talk to more and more CVCs, you're honing your pitch, you're honing your story, you're making it more compelling, you're making it more impactful. And be prepared. This is another thing. Be prepared to share this at any time, because you don't know that next moment when you'll get that introduction. You don't know when somebody will, hey, you should talk to these folks. So be prepared. And then it's about reaching out. And really, I strongly suggest for all the entrepreneurs out there to leverage warm intros. This is probably, I would say, one of the best ways to connect with any kind of investor, any kind of partner or mentor, because it's about leveraging relationship. And this is the thing that some people forget, is that even a CVC is about relationship. And how do you build that relationship? Well, really going through your network, going through people whether it's on LinkedIn or any other kind of social network, is beneficial. Even your extended network, family members, mentors, past employers, professors from the school you went to. These are all great folks to talk with who can help identify CVC relationships. Also, perhaps there are people who are already on your board or advisors who already have these CVC connections. Business networks, incubators, angel investors also can help, and they're great sources of early capital. Really what you want to do is you want to stage your investment So it could be the case that as a very early stage seed or pre-seed, you may not seek out CVC investment at that point. It's totally up to you. In some cases, some startups feel that incubation is a better start for them, or perhaps working with angels. It's up to you. But I would say even just having an early conversation with a CVC can help. And many angel investors and incubators have those relationships, and many of them are happy to reach out for you. But here's the key: when you reach out and you share with them, focus on demonstrating value. It's not about, hey, let's have a random conversation. It's about, here's what I'm doing. Here's where I can see value for both what we're doing and what you might be doing. Would love to have a conversation and explore that. Keep it simple, keep it direct. You may get a no, and that happens. You may get a yes, and just be prepared. But either way, I would say it's all about that persistence, keeping it up and keep going. Prepare the suggestions for the synergies and mutual value creation in advance. Go into detail if you can. Look at press releases. Look at articles the corporate has done. Look at big initiatives that they're already working on, and leverage that in terms of how you share with them. Having that context, providing that context, saves them time to explain it to you because you already know it, and you're already making suggestions for how you can add value with respect to that. And reach out in advance. Don't wait until you need the money, because in some cases that is too rushed. But try to connect with people through events, trade shows, forums. For example, Pitch Global is a great resource for connecting with folks, and both KC and Axel are extremely helpful in providing the advice and pointing you in the right direction. And I would say use a cold email as a last resort. I know people have done that as the first resort. I definitely do not recommend that. I strongly recommend avoiding cold emails, because it's just, there's less context and you're not really leveraging relationship. And relationship is very powerful in this ecosystem. And follow up, beyond the first conversation, it's following up and really understanding how to progress the relationship to something meaningful. And so that's all I had for today. And now I'd like to open it up for questions.
Andrew, that was very, very illuminating and insightful. I have a comment and one question. After that, I think Axel has a question too. And the comment is that, I love how you're dispelling the notion that CVCs don't invest large sums. We actually have one of our investors from SK Group. They invested $1.6 billion earlier this year in a company in East Coast. And I'm proud to say that, we'll have him as a guest speaker in our 8th October event. He just confirmed last night. So some of the CVCs are dealing with very big money. And I just want to share our experience with CVCs. Some of it has been very different. If I take three, one company, we had Banco Santander Ventures. Now they have totally spun off their CVC arm into a VC fund, Mora Capital. So our CVC is becoming VCs. That's one. Another company we know who's been in our events, Venture Arm of Randstad, one of the largest HR companies in the world. They have also created Taproot Venture Arm. Then we know Illumina Ventures, who's been in our summits. And though they have kept the Illumina name, they have also become broad-based VCs with other LPs. So is it possible to extrapolate a trend here, or changes happening so fast that, whatever, we just have to expect the unexpected when we are dealing with CVCs? What's your take on it, Andrew?
Great question. Thank you for the question, Casey. Here's what I would say. I think you're right. I think things are changing. I do see that trend. There are a number of CVCs that are taking on more of financial aims, and in some cases, potentially even abandoning the strategic aims. And the reality is that these the corporate aims of both financial and strategic can shift and change over time as the company's priorities shift and change over time. One of the things I've noticed is as CVCs become larger and become more successful financially, the corporate sees it, or the corporate may see it as a vehicle for creating even more financial return overall. So yes, there can be cases where there are spin-offs into more financial vehicles, and even funds that take on additional LPs. So this notion of all CVCs are single LP funds, I actually want to dispel that notion. It's really, there's a wide variety. There are multi-LP funds out there that are financially focused. There are multi-LP funds out there that are strategically focused. And so yes, you're right. So I agree with you. This is a trend that we're seeing, that there are a number of CVCs that are following that direction, that are becoming more financially focused.
And it could also be a return to the roots, because some of the original VCs were venture arms like Venrock. They were venture arms of Rockefeller family corporation. Another very famous German steel company, one of the other, I just don't remember the name right now, but one of the Bessemer Ventures, they're also very iconic VCs, and they were, investment arm of German companies. So on some level, we could be turning a full cycle. There's a question from Eric, and he says he wants to know what is the split between TDK Ventures, between a financial goal and strategic goal. And once you answer that, Axel will ask his question.
Yeah, I mean, there's no split. TDK Ventures has both financial and strategic aims, and both are important. So this is the other thing I would say is, a lot of people think one is more than the other. It's not. Both are important. It's like the two wings of an aircraft. Both are very important. And for us, we need to believe that the startup has the potential to make venture-like financial returns and has the potential to unlock some long-term strategic value and synergies through some long-term relationship with TDK.
That's great. Axel?
Yes. So based on my personal experience, and first of all, I would like to thank you for this excellent presentation. And I like to see I like to hear what I heard, the change in the landscape. That begs a three-part question. Does TDK Venture or the majority of the modern style CVCs write term sheets? That's number one. Do they take a board seat? Because that used to be sometimes a no-no. And number third, do the term sheets still include first right of refusal? These are probably three very important things for the entrepreneurs to know.
Yeah, great questions. So I'll answer generally first. So we're seeing a lot of CVCs now that are taking board seats and are writing term sheets. I think there are a number of CVCs that have reached a level of maturity where they understand the market very well and they can put together a term sheet fairly quickly. And we're also seeing a number of CVCs now that are focusing on terms in those term sheets that are very vanilla. So there are still some CVCs that focus a lot more on commercial terms, some exotic terms and term sheets, but many today are now just making more vanilla term sheets. So right of first refusal, that depends. Some cases they'll be there, some cases it won't. So for TDK Ventures, we're very flexible. So yes, there are cases where we would write a term sheet. And yes, there are cases where we would take board seats. But our usual sort of modus operandi is to generally follow. So we like to have sort of maybe even a financial VC come in a lead role to write the term sheet. And we also like to bring in a syndicate of both financial and strategics who can add value. And so we don't necessarily always ask for a board seat. It could be an observer seat. And we don't necessarily ask for first right of refusal.
Thank you very much. Very insightful and important.
That's great. And Alex, who we are also mentoring his company, Blissera, he wants a copy of the presentation, so I can send it to him later on. And
we have another one who messaged me, so send me a copy so that I can also distribute this where needed.
That's great. So the three companies presenting today, let us give them an option to ask a question each before we wrap up. So, any questions from Tom? This is the chance. Tom, do you have any question? You have been working with corporates from day one, starting from Cisco to Facebook to US government. So do you have any question or comment?
Can you hear me, Axel?
Yeah, we can.
Okay. I think the one thing that I struggle with, and it's all Andrew, it's incredible what you put up and inspiring, but I still see in my own view, a lot of these corporations, the CVCs, are really difficult to get to. And they put up, they don't answer phones. They don't even have phones, many of them. And it's just, there's just no way to get to them. And I even had a contact at Comcast and we provide product to Comcast, and I still couldn't get them to actually give me the time to make a presentation. And that's just the frustrating part of being a small company and trying to attract the attention of somebody who has so many people approaching them. So I don't know if you can comment on that, but that's just kind of been my experience.
Yeah, I would say what you just shared is true of not just CVCs, but financial VCs as well.
Yeah.
Do you guys know how to reach Google Ventures? Do you know how to reach General Catalyst? Do you know how to reach Lightspeed? Trust me, those are not easy firms to reach. So it's not something that's, really particular to CVCs. That's just the industry in general.
Yeah.
And again, why I emphasize, you got to leverage relationship. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I get maybe 30 to 40 requests on my LinkedIn, like every 2 days. People I've never met and I don't know. And every single one of them is asking for money. Which calls do I take? Which ones do I meet up with? I got to be honest with you. You think about it from the perspective of how can I leverage my relationships to then somehow get in contact with the CVCs and then leverage that opportunity to demonstrate value. That's what I would like to suggest for folks, because otherwise I've seen people just random cold emails, and unfortunately it's less effective. That's just the reality. And so the fact that, it can be hard to reach folks. That's just the nature of, for better or for worse. I'm not trying to say one thing is good or the other. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just pointing out that it's a reality of the marketplace right now. And that the way I would approach it would be to leverage those relationships that I have to then really, it's not about saying, oh, I know one person and then counting on that one person to say, oh, I'm going to get that relationship with Comcast. It could be about many different people to then establish that relationship. But the good news is if you're able to do that, then presumably that those would provide some signals that this is something that is more going to be a solid long-term partnership than not.
Okay. To add to that, Tom, since Tech Futures Group, NorCal SBDC is paying us to help startups in Northern California, those we are helping, you can always tell us to make connections. If you give us a list of top 5, we will do that for you. Because once again, there's no free lunch, but they are very wise. They are paying us. They trust our mentoring without proof. So we will do that because, on our heartfelt way, Axel and I, because, hey, if we are getting paid, we want to get paid more, right? So on that note, if Gary from Instinctive, do you have a question? Or or the third company, Joseph from Turing Sense. Joseph, do you have a question for Andrew?
Yes, Andrew. Hi, I'm Joe Kamdani. We are using a lot of sensors, and it's a different kind of accelerometer and gyroscope that we use for smart clothing. Are you following how sensors are being used in smart clothing? And if so, do you think that's going to be the volume driver for TDK, in terms of sensor usage in the future?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to comment on something specific like that. I can't do that in a public forum. But what I would say is, look at what's on the website. Look at what's been said publicly. I think you can glean more information there. I mean, I think that there's a lot that TDK is doing. So if you can reach out to folks and build relationships with them and start, showing value, then you can start getting a sense for what the direction that TDK is going and how you could collaborate.
Sounds good.
That's great. Time is up for this part, this segment. But since Joseph is on it and he's the first person we are interviewing, so I just want to start by congratulating him for raising over 16 million till now. And that is the plus. I'm going to say something which is -2, because when he first came to us, very highly recommended, he was introduced as he's disrupting yoga and wellness. And I saw him and I said, if people put you into yoga and wellness category, you're not going to raise the big money. And we are confident, especially in private, we do give politically incorrect advice. And then I realized this is the person who is creating major disruption, taking motion AI sensor technology, which is used in Hollywood for millions, cost millions, and he's bringing it down to under 100. And founding teams are PhDs, and they raised $80 million in their previous company. Then I said, brand yourself as the next Moore's Law on steroids. Talk about that you're ultimate disruptor with tremendous track record. And then last time I saw his presentation, lo and behold, yoga and wellness has vanished, and he's raising money right, left, and center. So we love it. We love that people are open enough to take our advice, and it does make a difference. So now our next stage begins, where I interview the 3 founders from today briefly. So Joe, just stay there because you go first. Then we'll interview Incentive, and then we'll interview AirLocker. And Andrew, just maybe stay a little bit, see the interviews at least, because these are going to be very short interviews, few minutes. But we believe in our Pitch Global's core value is collaboration. Like you heard, Cargo Chief and Telemetrac both attended HBS, but they met at our event, and Cargo Chief became, investor advisor to Telemetrac. That is what virtual cohorts we want to foster. And we also believe in, bleeding edge knowledge. Like as CNN says, they are about news 24/7. We want to bring knowledge which is at the fault line. Like today, what Andrew presented, you cannot read it in any books and journals because this is the future, and concepts has not been created for it to be public knowledge yet. But, because most people think CVCs are for later stage funding. So I think this is start of a revolution where we are, with Andrew's help, we are dispelling the notion that CVCs is not for early stage. And so Andrew, once again, thank you very much for such a illuminating presentation. And Joe Chamdani of Turing Sense, if you can share your screen, or at least we can see you, it'll be better. You don't need to share the screen because that's for the presentation. So can you, Joe, you're there, right?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Wonderful. See, I love the background. And can you briefly talk about, share your background and what kind of innovation you're creating?
Yes, thank you, Casey. Yes, as you mentioned, I'm been in the Valley. I'm a serial entrepreneur with two previous startups and with successful exit. In this company, Touring Sense, I'm trying to combine my passion in technology and as well as sports. And I found out through, my own experience in playing tennis since a kid, and then bringing up my two kids playing tennis. Learning motion is not so trivial, especially the feedback, the real-time feedback. So that's how Touring Sense was founded, based on trying to solve that problem for for the major population or the mass consumers. Yeah.
Great. So what kind of corporate partners are you talking to right now?
Right now, given as you mentioned, we are in motion AI and be able to capture your movement in 3D avatar with the quality like Hollywood animation production. We're talking to a variety of companies that would like to, OEM our smart clothing technology. Company such as Fabletics, who's well known in the athleisure apparel world, founded by Kate Hudson, celebrity, Hollywood celebrity. We're also talking to Target, who just came out with their own in-brand, all in motion, all about athleisure apparel also. We're also talking to Facebook in terms of integrating our Pivot app into their set-top box Portal TV. And recently we're being contacted by NBA also to help their innovation and drive in not just player development and analytics, but fan engagement. I have something to show, exciting thing to share in my presentation later.
That's great. A last question. Can you just take one example and go a bit deeper, like how, say, take Fabletics, because celebrities involved and you're meeting with Kate Hudson, right? Later this month. So why not tell us, why should a Fabletic consider investing in Touring Sense?
Very good. Glad that you mentioned Fabletics. Fabletics founding vision happened to align well with our vision, founding vision, which is affordable innovation. We wanted to come up with something that revolutionary, but also affordable by everyone. So Fabletics is offering consumers on this innovative athleisure clothes that are fashionable like Lululemon, but at affordable price. And given that they, last month they announced they're going to go IPO, leveraging technology will essentially boost their thought leadership in athleisure and at-home exercise market, something that they want to leapfrog Lululemon with the recent mirror technology acquisition. So this is giving them, the thought leadership, through our technology. So we're exploring that right now with Fabletics.
Great. Joe, thank you for your time and looking forward to your larger presentation, which Axel will host. Thank you. So we have two more companies, founders we are interviewing. One may or may not be here. He's really busy. But the difference between today's event and the last two events was the CVC thought leadership in part was much larger. So just in case Gary Goldstein from Incentive is not here, we can go to the third company, AirLocker. Gary, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here. Thank you.
Oh, you're here. Great. All right.
Yep.
Love how you kept the sense of mystery. And you always have ace up your sleeves.
Yeah.
And Love it. Tell us how, after you invested 2 million of your own money into this company, tell us how you tell us a bit about your journey and what kind of innovation your company is creating.
Thank you for that, Casey, and thank you, Axel, for what you do for all of us. It's really great. So I come from the business as a benefit broker, and in the late 90s, I created my first online benefits administration platform. We had clients like eBay and E-Trade and Sony PlayStation, Dreyer's Ice Cream, and so on. We were a national organization and sold it in 2005 to a company on its way to an IPO. And then we got to resell it again in 2008. So our first client was a professional employer organization that was eventually sold to TriNet. And so we've got some really exciting things going on, because anytime you have a chance to build a system a second or third time like we have with Instinctive, you come out with something much better than the market. And just this morning I was meeting with a group that was owned by a private equity company, 1,600 employees, doubled in size in 2 years, 100 locations, and 7 states. So very complex organizations. And they met us through something called the ADP Marketplace, which is their ADP's recognition that businesses want to buy best-of-breed solutions, but now want them on an integrated basis, which is exactly what Instinctive is all about. So we're meeting with a bunch of different companies where we can do strategics. Yesterday, I met with a group that has 4,000 business clients, is in the space, and the conversation was around acquisition instead of investment. So one of the questions I would have asked Andrew was, does size matter? In this case, it did. And then we're meeting with some other PEOs that are very, very large publicly traded companies that would be a potential investor. So this is very timely CVC.
That's great. Gary, so what is the incentive for a CVC to make an investment in Instinctive? Do you think it would help them scale their offerings across the Instinctive platform better?
Yeah, so we, because we're in all brand new technologies, we have the ability to scale very quickly. We have the ability to help them with much better technologies than they have today. Each PEO has a specific need or niche. This group that I met with yesterday, even though they have 4,000 clients and hundreds of employees, they really need some additional help in different categories. So yeah, we can help a lot of different companies in a lot of different ways.
That's great. And the last question is, if these large corporates have large distribution platforms like the one we introduced you to, Inspirity, how can they avail of your SaaS platform to really leverage their distribution network?
So not only can we help them with their own PEO platform in terms of connecting to third-party systems and products and services companies, providing more robust solutions in terms of document management and benefits administration, but also we can help them capture their clients as they grow too big for the PEO industry. The biggest problem for them is that they can't capture them once they get that big, and we can help them retain that client and add additional Inspirity products and services into the mix.
Well, that itself can be, for large public companies who are really very focused on growth to maintain shareholder value, that itself can be a tremendous advantage. So Gary, thanks very much. I'm gonna interview one more founder before I hand over the floor to Axel, and Tom Corder of AirLocker. Tom, thanks for being a very active participant today from beginning before the event started. And Tom, why don't you give us a bit of your background and explain the innovation you're creating.
Well, my background is kind of come out of the security space, if you will, more the physical access control using technology, using cybersecurity and cryptography. And through that, we became a partner with Cisco, and then Cisco asked us to develop a locker system that they could use to work with software that they were going to develop for FedEx. And that really didn't go forward, but what happened was we started learning about corporations in general having lots of uses for smart lockers, not just for delivery, but for things like protecting IP. A lot of corporations don't want their engineers leaving prototypes out. They want safe transfer now with COVID between one department and another department. So we have a federal government agency that's using our lockers so that the computers, when they need to get security upgrades and repairs, go to the locker. The researcher just doesn't carry it into the IT department. We're seeing corporations being worried about asynchronous, hybrid workforce, being able to transfer items between themselves, and just a lot of general efficiency things. Comcast is using our lockers to get equipment closer to their techs so they don't have to ship it every time they need something. They can get it out of a locker. So there's a lot of use cases now we've discovered in corporate America and in the enterprise.
Great. So how could a CVC realize leverage by investing in AirLocker?
Well, they could help us market to their other investee corporations and companies, because we can help them improve their processes and their operations, and even employee wellness. There's SiriusXM is reopening 11 offices, and the employees are worried about going back to work and where they store their stuff, and so they're looking at lockers for just general day use by employees.
Great. And if a CVC is consumer focused, do they have a play there as well?
Well, we're kind of getting drawn into the consumer business. We're a Microsoft partner on their e-commerce site now. Well, it's not quite live yet, but we're getting close. And we're the only locker company they're working with. So we've actually envisioned a locker on your front porch that any retailer who is running the Microsoft Dynamics 365 e-commerce program, you could put a locker on your doorstep, and that retailer could ship directly to your locker. It's seamless, and nobody in between in terms of having to send it to a warehouse or whatever. We're also in a project with Facebook that has a consumer element to it for a storage solution.
That's great. And companies like UPS or Pitney Bowes, definitely you can extend, their offerings for sure. All right. So since we've had success helping companies with grants, can you tell us how U.S. government agency could benefit by bringing in AirLocker into their ecosystem?
Well, some of our engineers and myself have spent more than a decade working with the federal government's what's called HSPD 12, the Homeland Security.
That's all right. We like, entertainment too.
Well, you just said UPS. A UPS guy walked in the door.
Oh, wow. That's great.
And my dog's like, my 11-pound dachshund is going to take on UPS. So, I kind of lost my train of thought there. I'm sorry, but.
But you gave the gist of it, that, your deep background really helps you navigate with the government, and you're doing some prototype with the Navy and all, right?
Right. I actually, as a contractor to the government, almost unpaid contractor, helped write the first document that came out of the HSPD 12, which came out of the Patriot Act after 9/11, where the government wanted their own secure ID card. So we helped develop that, and one of our engineers was from Sun Microsystems and had developed the Java card, which is the platform that's in use today. So we put the first physical access control system up for the federal government that used the government card at Fort Belvoir. And we've been involved with it for a long time. And now we're supplying product to the Department of Energy. And so we understand the requirements for security and for access with the federal government, and we've applied those to our lockers. So it's kind of exciting. We have a project now actually with the government, a couple of projects.
That's great. Great. Tom, thanks for your time. And now I'm handing over the floor to my fellow EIR, Axel Tillmann, former US CEO of Fund of Funds. Axel, has been started this event, so you've been seeing him from quarter to 9. So Axel, floor is yours, brother. And he's gonna first talk about his experiences when he led our Pitch Global's effort to help global Japanese company Ricoh to spin out their medtech non-core division, which ultimately got spun into Aiga Health. And through our network, they also found a CEO who became a big investor and became, the co-founder in the company. So Axel, floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Casey. And again, hello to everybody today on the Pitch Global TFG Tech Futures Group demo day. So first of all, let me say that in principle, there is no difference between a corporate spin out and a regular startup company. And that's what I told on the onset my clients or Pitch Global clients. And I said, we are embarking together on a journey of 6 to 9 months. And I think when we go and take a look at Andrew, he will agree that relationship building is like dating. You do not marry the woman that you met somewhere after 1 week. You have to get to know her and appreciate this. And sometimes this dating, even in the investment race area, can actually take even 1.5 years until the parameters line up. So when we took on the task for Ricoh, we had to basically go back to square one, because even if you are a large corporation, you are not treated in the investor's mind any differently. We need to understand the team. We need to understand the market value proposition. And that is absolutely regardless of how much money the corporate environment had already spent in R&D. Yes, granted, $20 million or $50 million spending for a project is a very impressive number. 20 patents is a very impressive number. But at the end of the day, that can also be a decrement, right? So why did you not get already $5 million in sales? And you need to learn how to spin the storyline. The second element that Casey actually mentioned was the management team. Yeah, even though that you worked in the big corporate world doesn't make you necessarily an experienced startup entrepreneur. We used to actually say 20 plus years ago, if you came from IBM to a startup company, you are automatically disqualified. Why? I tell you, my first startup company here in the US, we were 3 C-suite executives, but at 5 o'clock in the evening, we packaged the FedEx packages. We brought them to FedEx or to the Postal Service, and we did every single other thing, including cleaning the office that needs to be done. So we needed to teach that what type of entrepreneurship was needed, what positions were needed in the company, and we needed to also help them with the introduction of the correct people that were an investable team. That is so important to understand for any startup company, including the corporate spin-out, that the team is much more important than the product, because what we learn is you pivot probably with a startup company at the average 5 to 10 times before you have the message and the market correctly honed in. And what was also important for the company was to understand we need market validation. What are the customers, your ultimate customer targets actually saying? And what we found is there was actually a beta customer, and not to say too much from the background, but sometimes corporate law, corporate regulations prevent of doing the right thing. In this case, they actually terminated the beta customer. And so when we went to the VCs, we had to actually say, yeah, we had a beta customer, but we lost it. And while that in general is a red flag, here we were able to explain that the corporate legal department wasn't so happy any longer to actually sign up for any extended deals. And so the rock bottom line is any company that engages into the fundraising round, whether corporate spin-out or normal startup alike, you are looking at a longer journey to make your funding happen, and you need to be very ingenuitive. I give you two examples out of my own experience. I was convinced I needed Cisco as a partner for one of my technology companies. And I was convinced that I needed to meet John Chambers. So he was a keynote speaker on a conference. I bought a $2,500 ticket to attend the conference. And the moment he came out of the green room, I snapped him and I was introduced into Cisco on the highest level and made my way in there. The same thing I did is also for Motorola. I got a runaround for over 6 months. And what did I do? I told the secretary, tell me on which flight the guy is the next time around. I booked a ticket next to him. And believe it or not, 1 week later, I had an in-person meeting in Austin because they finally understood that I was serious about what I was going to do with this. And I told one of our mentees here, which we help, you want to meet Wolfgang Puck. He has a restaurant called Spargos here in LA. You book a dinner, he's going around to the tables and have short level conversations, hone in on your 1 or 2 sentence line. And if you're lucky and you interest him, you have a meeting afterwards. Otherwise, you cannot reach to the person. So entrepreneurs have a high degree of ingenuity to present themselves, how they're going to reach out to their targets, whether it's VCs or whether it's customers. That's what I think is the ultimate, very important lesson. Yeah, I am available under Axel at pitchglobal.com. You can send me any messages and I respond. I have a heart for entrepreneurship. I'm a serial entrepreneur myself, and I will never stop being this. So now we come to the core of our day. Not that everything was very important, but now we come to our 3 companies that are presenting what they are actually doing. And I'm very proud that our first company up is Turing Sense. I have worked with Joe. I am fascinated what Joe has. And I told him already on the onset, we need to see whether Orange Theory, which I am a regular participant in, because I know at the floor stations, I have posture problems and that could be corrected. So Joe, the floor is yours. Please tell us your storyline.
Thank you so much, Axel. Let me share my screen.
Yes.
So here we go. Hopefully you can see my
Yes
already. Okay. So thank you again for the nice introduction, kind introduction. I'd like to share a personal story how Turing Sense started. You know, again, Turing Sense is about creating this disruptive technology of motion AI. But how I got intrigued by it is because I mentioned I play tennis a lot, and since growing up I play in a collegiate level in a team, and I got injured a lot, and that's mainly because my repetitive motion is incorrect, and so one day I tried to fix myself. I had a labrum tear on my shoulder, and I asked not a tennis coach, because I've asked many tennis coaches, could not fix it, but I asked my fitness coach, fitness friends that happened to be very good in biomechanics, and he looked at my motion. My kinetic chain is incorrect, and I'm putting a lot of force on my shoulder rather than leveraging the kinetic chain from my leg. And to fix my bad habit on my elbow drop, he did it through fixing my hip. leaning forward instead, and everything else, falls naturally. And, so that got me thinking, what if there is a motion capture and motion AI technology that could just simply analyze this in 3D, and, got me to look into this Hollywood motion capture that you see in the picture, which is, multi-million-dollar facility. And, the actor has to wear this, kind of like a full body suit with all kind of markers in order to capture all the 3D points in the 3D space. And, so what if this technology available in the form of smart clothing for less than $100, then suddenly the application will be enormous. So, not just in sports, but could be in physical therapy, it could be for gaming, etc. So that's what basically motivated me and my team to come up with this technology that give benefits to learn any motion skill with real-time feedback. We launched our first product as a beachhead. We go after the yoga market, but the application is way beyond yoga. So currently, our go-to-market strategy primarily through partnership, and we're in talk, as mentioned earlier, with Fabletics, Target, Facebook, and NBA. I'll go over a bit more on the details of that. So we've assembled a proven team, and we're currently raising a $2 million convertible note bridge. So what's the core components inside? We have this smart clothing, essentially as the hardware to collect the data, to collect your 3D motions, and basically 16 sensors in this pair of shirt and pants that we use commodity components, and we could sell it at $99, it gathers data at 50 frames per second, and it's everything fully washable. You can throw the entire thing, nothing to take out the battery, the wireless module, sensors, everything into the washing machine, and we just ask to hang dry, just like a typical good quality athleisure apparel. Now, with the hardware, we pair with our proprietary algorithms, software that we package into an SDK. And the idea here is to package it as a platform, hardware and SDK, so that we can partner to develop all kind of cool application that involve motion AI. On the marketing, go-to-market marketing, we've launched Pivot Yoga as a first product, as I mentioned, and we have a website, pivot.yoga, where we do the e-commerce. Our goal is primarily for getting early adopters. It's not to grow and spend all the money to acquire customer directly. Our strategy to grow is rather through this partnership, OEM or IP licensing or distribution partnership. So there's a lot of company in our ecosystem, from apparel companies to content providers with set-top boxes to organization like NBA that wanted to do more with their player development or analysis, as well as fan engagement. So to give you an example, I mentioned about Fabletics. Currently, they have a subscription model, over 2 million VIP subscriber, where Fabletics would send you a collection and for you to for the customer to decide whether to keep or use the credit for next month. But the founding vision of athletics is to provide this affordable, fashionable clothes like Lululemon style and quality, but at affordable price. So what we could help them is in this affordable innovation is to add the smart clothing collection, and that would give them ammunition to essentially leapfrog Lululemon with the mirror technology. Mirror is basically just a big screen where the user can do exercise with seeing themselves and seeing some kind of video being played into that big screen. Now with this smart clothing technology, we could do a whole lot more and retrofit their at-home exercise classes as well as live class. I have a quick video here that I like to show just to give you more visual what this technology look like. Oh, sorry. Okay, let me play this quick 30-second video. Everybody can see?
Yes.
Yeah.
Begin. Show me camera 1.
We're going to gaze over our right middle
Molly,
finger.
how's this look?
Move your front knee right by 6 inches.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Now that looks a lot better.
Okay, so what you saw there is that a user basically 3D avatar being captured in this purple avatar, and then could be compared with the reference avatar, which is the teacher essentially, and just from the superimposing these two avatars, you can easily tell which body part need to be aligned in order to match. This is showing red, meaning that from the front of the mat, position 1 here, something is still not aligned, and our teaching AI, when it's being asked through audio, can quickly give suggestion which body part has the most delta difference, and when the user move it, then it becomes green. So that's once you capture it, then it's pretty easy to compare. So this avatar can be inserted into kind of like a augmented reality environment in the video, as if you're practicing with the teacher. So that's just give a visualization of the concept. So moving on, I mentioned about talking with Facebook in their set-top product, which is this portal TV you're seeing at the top of the TV. Right now, they're primarily using for conferencing, video conferencing, but we could essentially install the Pivot app, and then for all kind of application, whether at home exercise with and without the smart clothing. If smart clothing is worn by the user, then you can see this avatar from all kind of viewing angle, including top view that you saw there. And then you can also make this as a gaming platform. If you think about it, the garment is essentially a controller, a game controller replacing a joystick. So that will be a lot of fun, where people exercise while playing game at the same time. For NBA, so this is it should be animation right there. You can see that for shooting technique, you can see the avatar, and then on the right side you can see that in the phone, user can see from various different angle, top view, side view, as well as, have a control on the 3D if they want to see, moving around through touching the screen. So we're also exploring how to incorporate this for fan engagement. What they like to do is if they can suit up the player, not like using the garment like a pivot yoga, but more of a compression short, compression shirt, even putting on the socks. That is enough to capture the key body parts of the player, and then as they play game, we can follow as a first person each player in this 3D avatar, and then a fan could view their favorite player as they do 3-point shots or a dunk, and then rotate it in 3D. So it's going to be a dynamic highlights capability that provided into the fan watching their favorite NBA game and NBA players. So today we have, in terms of the offering in pivot yoga and later on fitness, is this content as well, on demand, where you do exercise solo, and then live when you do the exercise with a live teacher. We build a platform that is a step better than Zoom, but the key here is to give feedback, to give guidance to the user, whether through our teaching AI software or through a teacher being able to see you the right way, with comparing with the avatar view. So that live classes, since we launched mid-June, we have early adopters that just quickly rising. They give all kind of feedback. They love the app and the teachers. The ratings have been anywhere between 4.8 to 5.0. So it's very good sign that it delivers the benefit to the yogis. Okay, and switching to the financial forecast, with this partnership model, the assumption here is that there are two partners, big and small, and a big partner could be like Fabletics, Target, NBA, or Facebook. One thing to note here is that we're in terms of user growth, we're following the proven model of Peloton, which is a very successful company, with their stationary bike exercise. But basically what it says here, on the third year, we're going to hit 1 million users, and there are 55 million yoga alone, 55 million yogis in US today, and combining with fitness, a whole lot more. But we believe that with the partnership, we could reach 1 million users in the third year. What it means in terms of revenue will translate to a massive revenue of 265 million, and a typical valuation, if we follow Peloton multiplied by 6, that's already 1.6 billion valuation. So this is a very lucrative market for us, and this is just looking into a small sample of the verticals. We have not included what it could do for basketball market, for example. About the capital raise, we've raised a total 16.1 million. Our current round is a convertible notes. We're targeting to raise additional 2.0 million, and we've raised 5.5. in this convertible notes. The terms are 20% discounts, 50 million cap, and 8% interest. So we plan to use this raise as a bridge round. We're bridge round towards Series A next year. We're on the verge of getting this at least one partner, and our goal is to get this deal signed before Series A. And once we have that, I think the valuation will skyrocket, given that you saw the revenue potential with the partner. So we feel very bullish that we're close to getting one, within 6 months or so. So this is essentially a great opportunity for investor to come in before the Series A. Last slide here is about my team. Myself and my co-founder partner Lyman here has been in the Valley. I've had 2 successful startups. Lyman had 1 successful startup, but we're both passionate, not just in technology, but in sports. Wade Legrone is our CMO, and he's been in many consumer products, big company and startup. Pietro is our head of R&D in Italy. A lot of our sensor fusion algorithm, motion capture technology, foundation, is started there, with Pietro and his team. John Fulton is our VP of Operation Manufacturing. He's been the first director at Fitbit that brought the Fitbit production from 0 to, over 2 million. And last but not least, Cecilia has been our system architect, our first engineer. She's architected the firmware and all the wireless protocol all the way into the application and the cloud. So with that, I would like to open for questions here. Thank you for the opportunity to present here.
Thank you so much, Joe, for the great presentation. I liked the intro, your personal story. We at Pitch Global always feel that this is the foundation for the opening up for a great presentation, and you did an excellent job today with this.
Thank you.
Do we have any questions from the audience? Casey, you would like to ask a question, but you had the interview.
Well, what is the exit strategy? Sometimes when we are fundraising at such a trajectory, investors would want to look at that too.
Yes, the main exit strategy is we believe we could continue to grow to IPO with this $1 billion plus valuation on the 3rd year, and we're certainly open to acquisition if the price is right, time is right. But right now we feel that we have the right path to go IPO.
Actually, to add to this, I believe because this is a platform play, and the platform play has a very good chance to stand on its own feet in a tremendous growth curve. So I would support you, Joe, unless there is a tremendous exit coming from an M&A offer, you are on the path to create a wonderful big corporation.
Thank you. Yeah, actually, this is confidential, but we've been approached by 2 SPAC teams that they're following us. So we're in discussion, and they give us some guideline, but they really like our story and our platform capability, like you said, Axel. Mm-hmm.
Great. Fantastic. Thank you again for the presentation, and we are now moving on to our second presenter of today. We have Instinctive, and Gary is going to give us a very good insight into the employee management market a very tedious process, and Gary has identified how to actually make that process for the companies more palatable, and his traction that he is getting definitely shows he is on the right track. And Gary, please show us what Instinctive is doing.
Thank you, Axel. I appreciate that. It's great to be here today. So Instinctive is a human capital, workforce management, and transactions platform. And we're multi-tiered architected to handle the complexity of the various organizations in our business. So think of service providers, their SME clients, and all the complexity that entails. And of course, very, very focused on office and remote-based employees. COVID has changed everything. We have 4 different modules, and we are the employee validated database of record. So we keep all data in sync. That's where we've grown into our name. So we're a next generation SaaS platform. We're a proven technology. We're 5 years old this year, and we've been at almost a cash flow break even for a little over a year. And we're growing month to month over revenues. Our projected revenues with 5 more sales will actually be in the 800 range, 800K range. We're raising Series Seed, $2 million, either in convertible notes or priced round at $8 million pre-money. Normally that I was anticipating hiring salespeople to get to that number, but it looks like we might be able to get there because of people referring business to us. So we purchased control of the company, completely redid the software. We're in all brand new technologies. We're in AWS, and that gives us a significant advantage in the marketplace. Now we actually have a proven technology. As Axel mentioned, or KC mentioned, I've invested over $2 million into the company, and we're growing quite rapidly now. You can see we're currently at 50 plus active clients, and we expect to be by the end of the year at 80 clients. One of those clients is a benefit broker owned by NFP, which is the 5th largest benefit brokerage in the country. And their client is the largest association in California. And so we're helping them market a very complex benefit package to 160,000 members. Actually, there's over 32,000 of them on our system right now. And they're about to go into their 4th open enrollment with us. The broker looked for 12 years to find a solution that can do what we've been doing for them for 4 years. They're really happy with us. We increased their book of business by 10% year over year. NFP also has a division that works with companies that have employees in San Francisco. It was in a paper-based world. We've completely automated that, and they're going to go live on 9/1. And that is a full transaction solution where a billing manager can come into the system, fill in forms that are already pre-filled, electronically signed, counter signatures happen, they upload an eligibility file, the system either says you've missed this information or it gives them an invoice, they put in an ACH information and pay their bill. So underneath that transaction we're partnered with Stripe and we're partnered with Plaid. So it's really an exciting evolution of the Instinctive product. And then we also have another partner that's changing the focus from health insurance back to health care and driving better patient outcomes. And they've already got 5 different corporations on our system. One of them is the Thin Blue Line Benefits, which caters to the Thin Blue Line group, which is the retirees of police and fire and emergency workers. And so far, there's already 70 people on our system just from that one. So I come from this business. The first time was in the late 90s, and I told my story a little bit before. Greg has been watching us for a very long time. He's with Optum Health, which is owned by United Healthcare. He's gotten us into the Washoe County, and so we're going to be we just got approved to respond to their RFP coming up, And then of course, with 2,700 employees, we're going to be up against everybody. UKG, which is United Ultimate Kronos Group, which is owned by Hellman and Friedman here in San Francisco, will be up against Workday, SAP, and Oracle. So big dogs, watch out. Martin is our genius CTO, and Colin is helping us with our lead generation. And as I mentioned, COVID's changed everything. So businesses of all shapes and sizes have to deal with office and remote-based employees. They have to be more effective, efficient, and productive. They have to deal with all kinds of complexity, like the group this morning, 1,600 employees, 100 locations, doubling in size. The complexity for them is off the charts. And so they're using ADP Workforce Now, but ADP Workforce Now can't handle that complexity. So that's why they came to us. ADP Workforce Now, by the way, has 200 to 250,000 client companies. Businesses have to focus on workforce retention, stabilization, and reducing their cost and improving employee morale. Channel service providers, almost anybody providing services to businesses, have to automate the management of all their clients and improve their services to those clients, offer an integrated platform, drive additional revenues through cross-selling of products and services, and boost their competitiveness. They have a competitor out there called Gusto that's raised over $500 million and is now valued at a $10 billion market cap. And their whole goal is to take them out, replace them and completely. So we're their value-added tool. And we're a white label solution, so we brand our service to their service provider and then to their clients so that everybody accesses the system in a way that looks familiar to them. We're configurable, so we have the ability to turn features and functionality on and off. It looks customized to the client, but it's really not. And that makes us rapidly deployable, and our administrative clients as well as the employees tell us that we're intuitively simple to use. We're modular, so we can start wherever a company has pain, do a great job, and then offer additional products and services, both internal as well as external. So the group this morning came to us for document automation and management. And so we have the ability to internalize 150 to 200 different documents to handle the complexity that they have. So we really take the compliance and complexity of what businesses do and have to deal with today and make them seem simple to both administrative and employee users. We're a complete HRIS system. And then as you imagine, since I've been in the business, online benefits administration business before, anytime you have a chance to build something a second or third time, it's you know exactly how to hit the market, where to hit the market, and do what you need to do right the first time. So we originally started calling this the Instinctive Integrated Marketplace, and people look at it and they go, hey, look, it's the hub. So, okay, we're the hub, the Instinctive Integrated Hub. We've identified over 40 different categories of best-of-breed solutions. Think of us as Zapier for HR. Thank you, Axel, for that. And so we're really at our core, we're a database-to-database data integration and management company. And it's a spectrum of communication capabilities we have. Because we live in AWS, Amazon Web Services, we live in APIs. We prefer APIs. My goal this time, we communicated to over 100 insurance companies in my last company via EDI. My goal is to move them as many as I can to APIs. And so as we integrate to more and more of these third-party systems, their clients become prospects for us. And so almost anybody providing services to businesses and corporations are leveraged channel distribution for us. Our goal, if we're direct, is really 50 to 10,000 employees. As I mentioned before, we've already blown through the top of that. And because of COVID, the 15% of people who are okay with the status quo are no longer okay with status quo. And the larger companies have pain, have capital, and are looking for solutions to solve that pain. We get multiple revenue streams, either setup fees and straight PEPMs. We also get voluntary plan overrides and commissions for integrations to third parties. And we've got a roadmap of features and functionality that'll drive additional MRR and solve age-old problems. As I mentioned, we are part of the ADP marketplace. which recognizes the market needs fully integrated best-of-breed solutions. And we're pre-connected to their 250,000 Workforce Now clients. And as what we're going to be doing with the capital is just driving more revenue. We got a proven technology product. And so by hiring a channel salesperson to do nothing but train the ADP sales team as to why they want to be selling a best-of-breed solution, going after ADP Workforce Now clients directly, and then leveraging our channel service providers to, because they know which ones of their clients have ADP Workforce Now. And so we already have a pipeline of the companies that we're meeting with, as I mentioned, the one this morning. And so right now, our huge sales force is going after the $4 billion slice with a full team of complement of sales and implementation team members. We'll actually be going after an increasing size market every year, year over year. So why do we win? We're a multi-tier architecture. We're a white label solution. We're modular, which gives us the ability to start where a company has pain and do a great job. So nobody has to risk their job in order to adopt our technology. And we're highly configurable, which makes us rapidly deployable. We have the Instinctive Hub, which is getting us into some really interesting integration opportunities. And then we provide actual service with our software. And we're driving new features and functionality that solve age-old problems and increase monthly revenues. So we actually have a good chance of hitting these numbers with a few more closes this year. And then we really want to drive revenues through a Series Seed and then Series A somewhere in 2020 timeframe. It's funny that Series A has now moved up to 2 to 3 million in revenue. So they might not get their chance at that point. We have a lot of strategics that are very interested in our growth. And of course, you know, we would be worth 6 to 10 times revenue at the end of 2023 and profitable. That would be a tremendous event. So we're seeking, and you can see with the money, 65% of it goes to sales, marketing, and growth. So again, grow revenues, recurring revenues, hire known channel salespeople, increase our lead gen spend, and then hire known implementation people who used to work for me and those who are being introduced to me along the way, increase our capability with our overseas team in North Macedonia. We also have teams capable in Ukraine and Buenos Aires, and build out a roadmap of features and functionality to increase faster MRR growth and then drive to profitability. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gary. Very great development of the presentation, very great development on terms of revenue and opportunities. Let me ask you a question. I would consider you a serial entrepreneur. Can you share 1 or 2 sentences about the challenges being actually a serial entrepreneur, family life, etc.? Because I know it is not easy to have this lifestyle and continue with this, and even go into your own personal financing and put $2.2 million of your own money into a dream that you are chasing.
Yeah, I mean, that's putting, you know, I'm from St. Louis, so you got to put your money where your mouth is, and you always have to do what you say you're going to do. And, you know, but honestly, Axel, I have to thank my wife of 33 years who's put up with this and seen this over and over again, right? So it's all about family, and I'm trying to, my son's 27, so I'm really trying to set a good example for him.
Fantastic. Do we have any questions from the audience? No questions? Then I thank you so much for the presentation. Our heart is with you. Anything we can do for you to support you, and I see a good future for you. And for the investors that are listening, not every storyline has to be this outrageous, sexy type of a story. This is a very dry subject matter where Gary found the right angle to bring improvement to the market. And that can be a highly successful story. One of my own startup companies was acquired by ArcSight, cybersecurity play, but they had one thing in common with Gary. They called themselves in the interaction game, the Switzerland of cybersecurity, because they connected to everything. Ultimately acquired for $1.5 billion by HP. So those are the success stories that we also love to support here at Pitch Global. Again, thank you.
Axel, I have a comment, Gary, one second. Axel, you are very helpful with Levinside to connect with them with NorCal SBDC. I see Incentive also is a good candidate to connect with, the Northern SBDC companies. Some of them could use Incentive to really, scale their HR. So
I will do that. Yeah.
Conversation.
Great. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Great. If you stop your screen share right now, then we can go to our third and last presenter. We heard already from Tom Corder in the interview section before. Tom Corder represents the company AirLocker. And Tom, if I understood you correctly, you are also a serial entrepreneur, right? So I define this as being something, it's like a drug. I actually never enjoyed the acquisition phase because that became ultimately a dreary thing. Everything I stood up for was no longer present at that point in time. So I always go back to the startup world and try to support all the startup entrepreneurs as much as I can. Tom, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Oh, I didn't get one there. Okay, I think I'm on the screen there. Is that correct?
Yep, absolutely perfect.
Yeah. Well, being a serial entrepreneur, I started my career did a little work at IBM and at Beach Aircraft and then at Teledyne Waterpick, where it was a company of $9 million in revenue, and I helped develop the shower massage for the company. And in 2 years, we were $150 million, and that kind of gave me the bug to do it, try to do it on my own. And so I came to Silicon Valley and did some good things, and it's just, it's as you know, it's a way of life. And now both of my kids are going to be entrepreneurs, I can tell you. So anyway, as was my father. So at AirLocker, we produce a powerful distributed smart locker platform for making the enterprise more agile. And why AirLocker? Because first off, we've got a great emerging market with significant potential. We have a superior product market fit that I'm going to show you. We've proven that we know how to get and attract some enterprise partners and customers. We have a more powerful technology than our competitors because we're based on IoT and they are not. That makes everything we do plug and play, easy to deploy, reconfigure, and we can redeploy faster. We have had proof of concept funding from Facebook totaling $310,000 this year, and next year we're expecting some more. Budgets haven't been released yet, but we feel good about that. And I think we have an appealing investment opportunity. So what's driving the business? What are the key drivers? Well, we all know it's e-commerce, which really started to take hold in 2014. And then in 2019, we had COVID, and that's actually driving the market for reasons that I'll speak to. We have an open office and hybrid workforce driving more of the market now. That's going to bring apart more automation in customer service, in my opinion. And we're already seeing that because you just can't put your people in front of or get deliveries to customers as fast as you'd like to. And now corporations are faced with having people work at home and having secrets, physical access secrets. Comcast, for example, they have a lot of R&D engineers back east, and they wouldn't let them take stuff home. So it really hurt their R&D effort. And everybody knows 95% of the enterprise firms are preparing for the hybrid workforce. So the industries we serve move things that are important. We serve the technology industry, now the higher education, government, healthcare, and specialty retail. So I have on here our current customers and people that we're speaking with and we feel like are going to be in the pipeline. So at Comcast, they have 130 of our locker systems on the West Coast so that they can send technicians to a locker to pick up things they need, assets they might need to do their job on a specific project. And what that does is stops them from having to wait 2 or 3 days to get the equipment, so they're more productive. And so the lockers are only used a few times a week, but Comcast is very pleased with the ROI that they see. Now Comcast has a second division, which is their IT division, talking with us, and we've submitted a proposal and it's gone up to corporate for approval. Facebook is of course our star client. We can't talk in depth about what we do with them, but we're really helping them with their internal security and how things are handled, how things are transported to their home, and how the developers are storing things at home. And of course, Joe talked about the Facebook portal, and we're working on a project for the Facebook portal. National Institute of Health is a customer. They have a locker of ours and they use it for the researchers. Instead of walking into IT to get security upgrades on their computers, they put it in a locker. We have a project now with the U.S. Navy on their smart warehouse project in San Diego through a prime contractor, Vectrus. And we have to install in early December for the demo there. And that will then ultimately, in theory, become a Navy-wide program, their smart warehouse. We're working with the Cal Citrus Banato Institute. It's just a phenomenal program. It's I think it's called the Center for IT Research in the International Society. So it's bringing engineering to good uses. They're going to use our lockers. We're building them now for packaged receipts, for moving products, or for moving research items between researchers, and for visitors to be able to store their gear when they come on campus, which is every day. They have something going on every day. TRP is a huge organization that nobody's heard of, but it's a $20 billion business. It's actually owned by PACCAR, which is the company that owns Peterbilt and Kenworth trucks. They want to use lockers to transfer parts between dealers and to get parts, to their customers. And we have a partnership with Microsoft, and like everybody does, but we're unique, I think, in this space in that we're their only locker company. We have our locker installed in their e-commerce space up in Seattle, up in Redmond. And what they're using the lockers for is they have 78 retailers on their e-commerce program, and any of those retailers will be able to integrate lockers just with basically a click of a button, because it's all going to be done for them. And it's very cool, and we're having to do all the back end work, but we're getting a lot of help from Microsoft on that. They have 2 top people working with us. It's been really gratifying so far. We're in discussions with Envoy, which is an office automation company for lockers. We've now been in contact with Cloudflare. They contacted us. They need lockers for their facilities. Costco has now contacted us about doing a pilot of one locker system, and it's really for employee use. They want to have their employees be able to lock things up and be able to know who's using the lockers. And then Elena Health, the Northwest Hospital in Minneapolis, 6,000 employees. They need lockers for a number of things they're looking at least 2 departments. So these are our products. When I talk about them, I want you to see what they are, of course. So on the left are the stationary lockers, which, our competition has for delivery. You see Amazon lockers. Well, we're not in that space. The center product is the e-pedestal, which is in an open office environment that Facebook is going to be using. They fit under the open desktop, so each individual person will have one. What's unique is that it's tied into their access control and security system. So they know when items are put in the lockers and what items and in the e-pedestal. And so the researchers or the R&D engineers there will have their own unit. Facebook asked us to do a portable cart, which I thought was kind of off the wall. Turns out there's a lot of interest in being able to move assets from room to room, excuse me, and on a number of our customers. And of course, we produce all the and build all the software here in Berkeley. Our new products that are coming, the work at home system, again, Facebook is an initial customer of that. We have some other people interested. So basically, it's in a high-tech connected by 5G LTE safe or secure storage solution for the home. And we have a client that is a $2 billion company that needs a smart shelf system, and we're working on a smart warehouse program with them that would have a smart shelf solution that they would market on the West Coast. Out in the field, this is what our lockers look like. So you see the NIH locker, which is now being used back on the East Coast for, like I said, the researchers for moving their IT equipment back and forth to the IT department. Well, we have our lipstick on a $650,000 pig, but I still talk about it, is that Cisco asked us to build lockers for them to market do a test pilot with FedEx, and we did that. It was all very successful. 7 months of operation of 20 lockers up in Toronto. This was all through FedEx in Canada. And then I got a call one day saying, oh, there's a bunch of executives from Cisco in the US coming up to see your lockers. So don't make any changes to them right now. So I got on an airplane, flew to Toronto, went and visited all 20 locker systems that they were in Rexall drugstores, made sure everything was working perfectly. It was. The next week, the FedEx executive showed up. They went back to Memphis, had a board meeting, and killed the project. Their reason was if they were going to do anything with lockers, it would be done internally in the U.S. And so just like that, we lost a $650,000 project, and it was fun to turn it all around to get the lockers back and do the things we had to do, but we were successful. There's a photograph of what our locker looks like up at the Microsoft e-commerce lab, and a photograph of what our locker looks like when it's in production. And of course, we use steel manufacturers in the US to do the lockers. We build all the electronics and software ourselves, of course. We're an enterprise platform. We're the only company that can offer this. So we can run our software on a virtual server. At Facebook, we're connecting to the physical access control database, so they can use the Facebook ID card. We can email everybody and remind them of certain things if they haven't picked something up out of a locker, for example. We run our own database there, and of course, Facebook will have a security administrator that will do all of this work. But much of the locker functionality for Facebook users is self-enrollment. So we're not burdening the Facebook team with having to administrate the lockers very much at all. So they'll have the stationary lockers, mobile lockers, e-pedestal, and work at home system. So this slide shows another advantage that we have over any competition, which is we can run in the cloud, and we do run in the cloud. We can run on-prem, and we do that like with NIH because the government's not gonna let us have outside access to a government network. So it's running on a VPN within the NIH network, and we'll be running on-prem with the TRP program. At Cal, it will, like I said, be a cloud solution, but the Navy and Facebook are full custom solutions. And things we've done to make us different that we have that our competition doesn't have, for example, is we're now integrated with Johnson Controls, which is the largest provider now of access control systems in the world since they took over Tyco, which was Software House. Through that, we've integrated with HID, the biggest provider of access readers in the world, and Okta, and of course, on-go 5G stuff, which we're just putting into our products. And we're fully integrated and certified and whatever all the right words are with the U.S. government PIV and CAC programs, which are their identity cards. So we can use those in government projects. Our system is all, as I said, plug and play. So you see on the left there where it says lock control module, the device there. We just plug into a network that we build within the lockers. So it's just an RS-485 serial network. But the big advantage there is all of the competition who build lockers pull cables to every single locker door. And when they do that, they can't do anything else with that wire. That wire is power and ground and senses the lock position. They can't put any other IT in it like what we do, which is we put item present sensors in our units, and we can put USB-C charging in every unit with no added cost other than a chip on the circuit board, so to speak. So when they pull, on a bank of 50 lockers, they pull 350 feet of cable, and they have to make 200 connections. We simply have one network cable, and you just plug in the device. So it's very easy to service in the field and reconfigure. The markets that we see are everybody's in package delivery that has a locker, has a smart locker. There's Pitney Bowes and Apex, who are the two people that are more advanced towards the enterprise than the rest. But we see Amazon, Partial Pending, Package Concierge, and Luxor One as pretty much stuck with what they do because they have a cloud application that controls the lock at the door. The enterprise space needs a lot more. There's some niche players in the market who do some various things, but there's only one company that's visionary that's doing all of these high-tech IoT things with software that can be customized. So that's our position. We need to get, our next step is to get funding and have capital to do more marketing so we can move up better into that enterprise space. So our 5-year revenue projections are right now, we're in year 3 of turning this company around after our event with FedEx and Cisco. We're going to do $300,000, $400,000 this year. We expected to do more, but this COVID thing has been setting back Facebook, which has been our major focus this year. We do have a lot of customers lined up to do more products or more purchases. For example, all the ones I've mentioned, especially Comcast. In the green, you'll see our recurring revenue. We do get a 10 to 12% recurring revenue on software, service, and support. Of course, it takes a while to build that because you don't get it really in year 1. So you'll see that we're getting up to it being somewhat significant 4 or 5 years from now. I tend to be very conservative. I've had venture capitalists tell me to put a 0 on everything because it's their job to take the 0 off. But anyway, that's the way we go at it here. Just see that next year we'll have as customers, we'll have Comcast, Facebook, PACCAR, Microsoft retail partners, higher education. We've got a proposal into UCLA that didn't get funded for this year that we told will be funded next year. And we're going to have a really good story for healthcare with the NIH program and the Northwest University Hospital. Our capitalization is we raised $646,000 to do the Cisco program with FedEx. We kind of had to recoup that. I've had to do a lot of investment myself. I think I'm up to about $400,000 now to help turn the company around while we didn't raise any capital. Excuse me. One thing I would like to mention is the product manager who is the lead person at Cisco for the locker program retired after that, took their early retirement, called me up and wanted to make an investment. So he's actually invested in our program. He's on our advisory board and a great contributor. So our team, besides myself, I'm actually an engineer. I've developed a lot of products, founded 3 ventures. Almost everybody out there has used a product that I've developed or a cousin of that product. Jim Mullen is our VP of engineering. He's our senior mechanical engineer, but we have to do a lot of hardware, as you've seen. Mark Potts is our CTO. He's a Brit. He's very senior and very, very, amazing person. And we have a couple of younger programmers, one Carlos Angeles and a fellow named Colin Stevens, who worked at Sun Microsystems and developed a lot of their innovation. Manuel Martinez runs our operations. We have a tech advisory board that's got 2 people then on the technical side, Chris McCoy, who's a PhD. He runs a very important lab at Tesla. He's a manufacturing and materials guru. And Lauren Winter, who runs the robotics and drone division for ESRI. And as I mentioned, Chris Blazak, the Cisco account manager, and Tim Vota, who is an Apple product manager and has quite an extensive experience in technology marketing. We think we can win because of our technical team. We've shown that customers will come to us and trust us and let us put stuff on their networks and in their facilities. We have a product market fit that no one else has. All the people that are even close to being in this space don't have anything like the ePedestal or a work-at-home solution or a mobile solution. So we need money, and that's why we're going to raise some capital for building the sales and marketing team, expanding our production capabilities, delivering on current opportunities, and prosecuting some patents that we do plan to file. So it's a big problem. We find that when we go into an enterprise that suddenly lots of people are talking to us. So we started out at Facebook, for example, with just 1 team. And now we have another team and another team wants to talk to us. At Comcast, we've gone from 1 to 2 teams. From our initial contact with Cal, it was from 1 department within the Citrus building, and now there's 2 other departments that are on board with lockers. So our solution, by being so powerful and capable, has drawn a lot of attention from customers. Okay, I'm through.
Thank you so much, Tom. Great presentation. And I'd like to share that I can extremely sympathize with your FedEx story. I had in a startup company made a contract with IBM. My CTO and I flew down to Raleigh for the training and execution of the contract. And the next morning after we came out of the hotel, we were greeted by the team and says, "We are so sorry, but we just sold the division yesterday."
Well, what's frustrating for me is the greatest entrepreneur at one time anyway in the United States was Fred Smith, right? And Fred Smith was apparently in this board meeting when it was decided that the U.S. Team would do all the locker development for them. And that team ultimately didn't succeed and got disbanded. And, it was frustrating because somebody that you look up to and admire your whole career is one that kind of shoots you down. And Cisco lost $3 million, but, they were doing $85 million a year with FedEx. So what are they going to say? But for us, that wasn't the case.
Of course. I call it karma. Sometimes it's something out of our control that happens. But what I think our startup companies and the listeners really would like to get one insight. So if we look at the 3 companies today, one was pure software, Instinctive. One had a little bit of hardware, but a lot big of software platform play. And you have a fair mix of software and challenges as a young startup company to get after all the hardware suppliers, the metal chassis, everything you needed to actually build the locker system. Can you give us some insight how you actually managed to build these relationships? Because it's not easy to get these big boys to listen to you if you need to make some cabinets, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so when we started with Cisco, and by the way, I should say that Cisco was phenomenal, and they took me under their wing for a year and a half and flew me around the world to meet with all their big clients. So we learned so much and walked away with such great relationships, which is how Comcast came to us. But what I learned was that we needed to be able to design a system that could be built anywhere. I mean, like there was a company in Romania that wanted to do this. The Cisco partner in Romania wanted to market lockers. So we weren't going to be able to ship them lockers. So we designed a locker cabinets that is our design. It's a turnkey design. We've now given it to 3 companies who've built it. And then we can just ship our plug and play electronics and it just plugs right in. And you turn on our system, it reports back to the home base here and we know it's there, and then we can do whatever configuration the customer wants. We can test with them online. So the electronics, both the hardware and the software, are really proven. And a lot of that architecture came from Cisco because they gave us all the software when they walked away. But we don't use much of it anymore because it's kind of obsolete in the way things are done today. That fast of a changeover. But anyway, we have locker partners. We actually have 4 in the U.S. now. We have South American partners and European partners who want to build the lockers, but we haven't actually had a customer yet. So it's not on our priority to do that just yet.
Thank you so much. Great presentation. And are there any questions from the audience right now?
Yes, I find it extremely impressive. Congratulations. My question is, when did you begin the company and when did you actually go live?
Well, we started the company in 2014. Okay. And then we went live with Cisco, I think in late 2016. And the pilot went for 7 months, and we had 4. The lockers were all in the Rexall stores up in Toronto. And honestly, we had a 7-month pilot with 14,000 packages going through the lockers. And they never had to roll a truck to do any repair on the lockers. They worked perfectly. And that's a Cisco and a FedEx report. That's not my data. I have the reports. And then they even did a Nielsen study on how the consumers responded, and it was a 4.5 out of 5. Everything was great, but it just came unglued the way it came unglued. And so anyway, then I had to get the lockers back. So I got FedEx to ship them back, and they showed up, and then I had to store them. And then Comcast knocked on the door and said, "Gee, Tom, we'd like to buy some lockers from you. What can you do?" And I said, "Well, how many do you want?" And he said, "Well, I want 100. And I said, "Well, what about 20 to start with?" So we reconditioned those lockers, built a whole new software base the way they wanted to use them. What Comcast does real quickly is we give them a report every day on items taken out of the lockers. They access that report, which they're now doing through Splunk. And then they generate what needs to go to the lockers, and they get the product to the lockers. But when somebody from Comcast needs anything from the lockers, it's our software they log on to and make the request from that grants the access, gives them the code, tells them the Google map on where it is, and all of that stuff. So we do all of that in the background for Comcast, keep track of their inventory. And unfortunately, right now, Comcast, because it's an internal kind of strategic program they're running to save money and improve customer service, they don't let us talk about it much. But I'm finally told them, "Hey, look, we're going to talk about it." I don't care what they do.
How do you keep, once you've released the code, how do you keep it from being taken and misused by somebody else? Is it like a one-time you can?
Yeah. It's a one-time QR code on your phone. Okay, so you just scan your phone, and then there's a numeric code also that you can enter. Okay.
Well, congratulations. Awesome.
Thank you so much for the question. I think we are coming to an end, Casey. It's my honor and privilege, first of all, to thank Tech Futures Group Without their support and their dedication, this event would have not happened. I'd like to thank also Casey, my friend and partner in Pitch Global. We are looking back now at close to 3 years from the early days up in San Jose to now, and it has been a tremendous journey. I enjoyed all the startup companies. I enjoyed TDK Ventures. Thank everybody who was there online today, and we are going to bring the video also accessible for anybody that didn't have the time to take notes or to watch it. And I wish everybody a wonderful weekend and rest of today. I hand over the floor to Edgar and then Casey with the final words. Edgar, thank you so much again.
No, thank you guys. I want to say thank you to Axel. Thank you to KC to be hosting another wonderful event. Thank you to TDK Ventures for being a part of this and all the TFG companies that presented. Thank you. You guys are great. KC.
That's great. I mean, Edgar, Axel, thank you. You've both summed it up very eloquently. I don't have too much to add, but I just want to comment on Tom's presentation. I love when things improve. And very fact that you mentioned in the beginning, it's an IoT play. We didn't hear this before, so we can help you target some IoT investors. We have Hypertherm Ventures and all very active people in our network. They are going to be in this event on 10 September. So I'll make sure, you get in front of them, your stuff. And very fact that you mentioned Facebook funded you for more than 300,000 it creates social proof, because when people are judging you at the beginning, strangers, that you frame that reality and they start looking at you as glass half full. So great job, and great job for everybody. You can contact us at startups@pitchglobal.com, and we look forward to continuing on the journey with Tech Futures Group and NorCal SBDC and TDK Ventures and all these other startups. May all the 3 startups today have their own CVC arm 5 years from now, because you become so big. On that note, adios, goodbye, and have a great rest of the weekend. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Have a good weekend.